it's not about being greedy, as I said. It's just about just knowing exactly where you are, and if you're going to put 10 or 15 years into something, there better be a material value, and not even at the end, because it's fair and even, and that's what the point that needs to be differentiated early on rather than later on.
G'day and welcome to this week's segment of Farm Yarns, where we dive behind the audio to find out who inspires our guests, what motivates them, what they would like to debunk, and also what resources they lean on to get the most out of their agri business. So let's get down to it. Farm Yarns. Right, Hamish, so we've got the new podcast Farm Yarns, where we found out all about Hair Tree, but not everyone is keen to know about what you're doing in the business. They want to know who's driving the business and how you're driving it, what motivates you. So welcome to Farm Yarns.
Thanks, mate. Yeah, that was a good hit out. So let's do the quick one, mate.
First of all, let's kick it off. And how are you? How are you going today?
Yeah, very good. Sitting here in Marlong, 5 degrees, cloudy, scuds, shower. Yeah, it's a good day to be inside.
Sounds very typical of Molong. What's your morning routine? How do you kick off your days?
Yeah, so get up and just do a bit of exercise, sort of thing, yeah, and then get into a few coffees. I live by myself, so I have to do at least one domestic duty every morning, or otherwise the place isn't that great after a while. So yeah, that's it.
Running around like you do, I could imagine as well. 60 seconds. Yeah. Tell me your favourite memory you had from the farm. Any farm?
I think some of the most favourite memories are, having, firstly, when I was sort of just come back from ag college, I had one of our, Mike Gibbs, a cattle assessor, who was who'd started with my grandfather and then had my father, then me, and then I actually had my kids. So he had 4 generations in the cattle yards with him, which is pretty cool. So yeah, it's probably one of the nicest sort of memories from the farm.
Not too much yelling going on in the yards?
No, there's always plenty of yelling. But yeah.
It comes with the job. But for yourself, who's been the most influential person in your life?
I think like there's probably a few that have probably been really influential. You say probably your father. Dad was sort of a really sort of good manager as such. So it was able to. You gave me probably more than enough advice, but I really enjoyed learning. And sometimes you see sons and fathers clash because they're too much alike. But I'm probably sort of just a bit more casual, so let him sort of give us his advice. But it's one of those things I really enjoyed. He's 83 at the moment and was just here for lunch today, and still giving me little tips, which is nice.
Yeah, it's probably those memories as well that you'll sort of keep forever. And for the family farms, 85,000 farming families, it's probably very similar for father figures, mother figures. I don't think that's a thing, but anyway. But we'll move on from that. A myth you'd like to debunk about ag tech, we like to centralise it to what you do. What would you like to debunk?
Look, I'd like to sort of really debunk, which is the best way to, sort of baseline carbon and make sure that farmers long term, it worries me a little bit about these 25 and 100 year sort of projects and tying country up. I think that we need land for food production. They're not making any more land, so somewhere between the tying up a country with purely for carbon, growing trees on or things like that, and somewhere between, how do we grow more food from the current land that we have, and sort of make that sort of our key priority, because that's what we're going to have to do. But do that, in a sustainable and sort of carbon friendly way in the future.
Yeah, there's lots of questions to come out of it, but that's also a good thing as well, contesting what's going on. Are you a night owl or early riser?
A bit of both. I don't, like quite happy to be sort of up around sort of 10:30, 11 o'clock and be up at 6. So that's not early, but it's not late either, I suppose. But it's yeah, sort of somewhere in that sort of happy medium, I suppose.
Consistency is key, though.
Yeah.
What's hot and what's not in agriculture? What do you love about it? About ag tech, and what don't you love about it?
What's hot at the moment? Yeah, I think there's some really interesting. COVID sort of knocked around a lot of ag tech companies, and there was a bit of a gap. But there's a few of these sort of more uh, stewardship type approaches coming out, and I think sort of compliance is going to be the bit that we're focused on at the moment is how do we make life easier for farmers by not having to double enter data.
Yep.
What's not hot? Don't know at the moment. It's I'm not sure I got an answer for that one.
The cold.
Yeah, the cold.
Going out or staying in on a Friday night? What's your go-to?
Oh mate, I'm 45 now, so staying in's I don't mind a bit of a blowout from time to time, but it's just got to be a good reason.
What's the local pub in Molong?
There's two. There's Freemasons, and then there's sort of the top pub. So yeah, I don't go to either very often, but yeah, no, when we go out, go down. Yeah.
And what's something you think we need to be talking about in agriculture? What's flying under the radar that shouldn't?
Yeah, as I sort of mentioned a couple of times in the previous episode, succession. It's farmers are. I think it's the greatest issue that catches a lot of farmers out, and everyone assumes they're not going to get bought out. We were lucky enough to do it early, so I've been able to head down a path at least I've got control over. But as a husband and wife, there's nothing more pillow talk causes angst of not having that security for your own kids and trying to deal with brothers, sisters, or uncles and whatever sort of thing. So it's not about being greedy, as I said. It's just about just knowing exactly where you are, and if you're going to put 10 or 15 years into something, there better be a material value, and not even at the end, because it's fair and even, and that's what the point that needs to be differentiated early on rather than later on.
Yeah, a huge topic to tackle, and sort of hopefully we can create that consistency. And like, family dynamics change for every family. There are some similar out there, but like the communication between and how that links up is pretty important in the end to get the most success out of it.
Yeah, 100%. And then everyone can just move on, and they know exactly where they stand, and there's none of that angst, so it's good.
Yeah, great suggestion. And playing off the back of that, mental health takes a toll on farmers. We lose too many every day to suicide, both men and women. But for yourself, Hamish, how do you take time to look after yourself after a busy day, a shit day, or even a good day?
Yeah, I don't know. I've just been pretty lucky that I haven't been terribly affected by that. I'm always a glass half full type of guy. So got a girlfriend in Bathurst, and yeah, we just go out for go for a walk or chill out. We've got a little dash hound, so he's not the brightest spark in the world, and so you can go and give him a bit of a run around and all that. So yeah, a couple of little ways of just hanging out at home and doing that sort of stuff. So don't mind a bit of footy, enjoying the Ashes at the moment, and hopefully we can give the Poms a towel up the next day or two. So that'll be good.
Yeah, great suggestion. A bit of us time, and yeah, the boys, they've turned it around for the Ashes. It wasn't looking good there at the beginning.
No, but they're doing well.
And Polly Doran actually turned this around. I asked what the deepest fear was, and she thought that was a bit pessimistic. So she told me to ask what brings you most joy. What brings you happiness?
Just my kids. This is really not a farmer story, but my daughter just got tickets for Taylor Swift.
Oh, did she?
For a friend? Yeah, for a friend about 2 hours ago, and just watching the tickets weren't even for her; they're for a friend. And
right.
Anyway, they're both just squealing and just yeah, it's pretty funny. So yeah, just little things like that. It was pretty cool to be in there and a part of. So yeah.
The like 4 million people tried to get tickets in Australia. I can't believe that. It's like 1/7 of Australia wanted a Taylor Swift ticket.
Yeah, we had 13 different devices between two families going, and we got one. So yeah, that was it. But anyway, and the funny thing is my daughter's not even going to it. She just wanted to get tickets for a mate. So they're both crying and yeah, whatever. So that was pretty funny.
To the Sydney one.
Yeah, to the Sydney one. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Imagine all the devices going across Australia just pinging off.
Yeah. Yeah. So 2%, I reckon, something like that. So yeah, just the simple things bring me joy.
Yeah. Beautiful to hear. And what are you most excited about in 2023?
It's 2023. That's this year, I suppose. So we've got about 6 months to go.
Six
Yeah, look, we're just trying to close a capital raise at the moment. We've got some really good guys we want to employ. We just finished the SVG Thrive program last week in Melbourne. They're a Silicon Valley venture fund that's targeted 10 Australian agtech companies, and we were lucky enough to be one of those 10. Actually we've been over to the States once and want to get over to the States a couple of times. There's some great opportunities to do what we're doing here. Over there, there's no one in the US doing IoT and apps like we are, and so we're actually a global leader really in that space, and just want to get there and understand it so that we can sort of hopefully through the end of this capital raise really get a bit of a launch into the US as well.
Yeah, it's a pretty exciting thing. Different kettle of fish over there, 300 million people. And I think there's also like 3.5 million farmers.
Yeah.
To Australia, it just blows us out of the water.
Yeah, no, and it's, we need to approach it a bit like Europe. Each one of those states has different, sort of laws and different customs, cultures, and whatever else, basically. So, to go to the US, you're really only going to one or two particular states. You're not actually going to the US as such.
Yeah, beautiful. And tell us something that the audience may not know about yourself, Hamish. What don't we know yet?
What don't you know? Probably I lost a couple of fingers in a accident in the workshop when I was 18 before I went to the territory. So yeah, so make sure you don't put your fingers in hydraulic metal presses. It's a bit of a no-no. So now for anyone that's on YouTube, they can see my ET fingers. So yeah, anyway,
Never noticed that.
Yeah, no, a lot of people don't. Funnily enough, I notice anyone else that's got lost a finger or so, I must look at hands more than most people now.
Checking out if there's any you like. And
yeah.
For yourself over your time, what's your favourite productivity hack? Something that you don't do or something that you do?
One of the things, as I said, in my routine, get up and do a domestic duty, do a bit of cleaning and all of that sort of thing. Like I think, looking on Instagram or something, there's a US general there saying make your bed every morning, and I think
that's a good one.
I think that's a really good one, and I think that's part of being productive yourself is really just make sure you sort of look after yourself and look after your sort of home and be proud of that sort of, because then you sort of the rest of the day will be the same. I think is you'll be hooking in and that, whereas if you're lazy on the little things of not getting out of bed in the morning or whatever, then it just reflects everywhere else.
Yeah, mate was on the podcast ages ago, Rich Avendano. He said, if you have a job 2 or 5 minutes, don't leave it to the next day. Do it now and you'll thank yourself later.
Yep. Yeah, it sounds easy. And that's it. They're only 5-minute jobs, any of it, so I think.
If you weren't doing what you were doing, what would Hamish be doing?
What I know now, like, and sort of probably coming back to the succession quickly as well later, is I'd go and work for an agtech company. If I wasn't a farmer, go and have a look. The agtech companies need young males and females that sort of understand ag and understand that how a service fits into ag. So I think agtech's really going to provide a fantastic opportunity for that connectivity of the sons and the daughters that don't actually make it onto the farm, to still have either a direct impact on their own family farm or to maintain that connection with ag becoming an expert in particular verticals within irrigation or within sort of stock water or pastures and all of that sort of stuff. So, I think that agtech's going to be the most awesome sort of industry for a lot of young farmers, and they probably should actually come and do a couple of years in agtech before they actually go home, just to get to know the ecosystem and understand what opportunities they can then and how they can use that on their farm by looking at plenty of other farms before they go home and get stuck there for the rest of their life in sort of building up their farm and expanding or making it better than when they got it.
Yeah, there's probably a space there to grow that community. Like there's coders in finance, coders in gaming and all that sort of stuff, and coding plays a huge role, and especially even with yourself coding different ag techs and even bringing them on board and making sure they're seamless with the end users. The space for that's growing, isn't it, a lot?
Yeah. Well, we don't do any development offshore. We have a regional first developer approach. So we've got one guy in Parkes, and then another in Bathurst, we've got two in Sydney, but sort of most of our team out of the 9 of us are all regionally based in New South Wales or Queensland. So look, if there is young developers that have got an ag background, certainly give me a call. I know a lot of companies are looking for developers if we're not, but I'd rather develop a farmer, someone with an ag background than not. So it just makes it so much easier with some of the data stuff that we're doing in the background. So don't be afraid to reach out.
Absolutely, and agriculture is no longer a stepping stone. We're the end destination for so many roles. It's great to see, and great to see the improvements, and a testament to yourself, Hamish, and many others out there doing what we do, but also incorporating these different industries. It's good to see.
Awesome, mate. Thanks, mate.
To round it off, you mentioned something before. It was like that guy that was Make Your Bed, the General. Do you have a book recommendation for the Farmers Book Club?
I think I don't do a lot of reading, but I did read a book, Bravo 20. I think it was the first Afghanistan. It was English SAS guys that landed in Afghanistan in the first Gulf War, and they just literally parachuted into the middle of a military base, and they spent the next 2 months basically escaping out through Siberia and then to get caught just as they're about to cross the border. And it's an awesome book, just going into I sort of got a huge empathy for the men and women that serve for Australia and all of that sort of stuff, and just some of those sort of stories, even though this one isn't, is sort of something, just a real life story of what happened, and certainly worth a read.
Was that Ant Middleton's?
Andy McNabb.
Oh, right. Yeah. Because I used to work in the ex-military recruitment in London, and just opened my eyes to that world of everything going on, and actually the good, bad, and extremely ugly of coming back from it all as well.
Yeah, no, but we're lucky enough, and if I can make a recommendation for a trip, go and see Çanakkale or Gallipoli, and go and look at particularly Ataturk's letter back to the Australian sort of mothers and fathers of the fallen. That'll certainly jerk a tear out of anyone. So yeah, that's something that would be the trip that I recommend for any Australian.
Yeah, I did Gallipoli on Anzac Day in 2018. It's a bit of a tearjerker, and just to see what they would have seen at that time. Obviously not in the same sort of conflict, but yeah, it's surreal. Well, we'll lock it off there. Hamish, thanks so much for coming on to A Farmyard. I'm sure a few people found out a little bit more about you, but also picked up a tip or two along the way. So thanks for coming on for a good farmyard.
Yeah, no, thanks, buddy. And thank you for the opportunity. And hopefully the season goes with everyone this year for 2023.